here. I'm just going to keep going. All right. We still have to fill it in, okay? All right, let me go over here. Greetings and welcome, by the way. Let me just go over here. I'm just going to say greetings and hello. I see Precious. Greetings. You know, I was thinking about you last week, wondering how you were doing, where you are, what's going on. Are you in Canada? Are you in America? I think up in Maine. And hello, Gregory. I see you there. Let's have a look. Precious moments. Here we go. Now, I've got a couple readings that I owe, so I'm going to put those on the board as well. Greetings, Precious. And let's see, Mr. Ross here. Yes, well, yes, by definition, of course it's important, otherwise you wouldn't be here. All right, let's have a look. Now, I owe a group reading because Necessary Truth was very generous last week and sponsored a group reading. So I'm going to do that probably pretty early on while I still have a bit of energy. Okay, so I'm going to put that over here. We'll get to that. And let's have a look over here. Gotta make some room. By the way, Zahed Gohar, if you're still out there somewhere, I still owe you one, okay? So just letting you know in case you're watching this or you catch it at some point. I can probably take about 2 more bookings and that'll probably be it. I'm still pretty fragile from the cold that I had over the holiday. Okay. Oh, your water pipe's bust. Ouch. Oh, that's really bad. I'm so sorry. That's really bad. Neptune is under quite a lot of pressure. It's under attack. Okay. Mars in Sagittarius. He's in a hard square with Neptune. So that's like something attacking, let's say, the chilly side of Mars, attacking the vulnerabilities of watery Neptune. That's how I love to blame the planets for everything. It's so convenient. It really helps me a lot, I know that. So here's the Astrodoodle for today. I got this other channel on YouTube. I really haven't used it much. It's called The Daily Transit. And the whole idea is to do one of these every day, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, just to keep people up to speed. But I just haven't got around to it, Life is what it is. I don't have an excuse. I should be highly motivated and take care of all of that. Precious moment, it hit -50 centigrade. Oh my God. That is so freaking cold. That's die. People die in that weather. If you don't have the right clothing or the right heating or some kind of shelter. Wow. Hello, Karen, over there in sunny, warm, balmy holiday season, New Zealand. Wow, I can't imagine a bigger contrast. Oh God. Have a look. All right, so there is Precious Moments way, way up here in an extreme hyper cold, -50 centigrade. That is absolutely deadly. It's no wonder there's not a lot of people who live up and around here. It's very sparsely populated. In fact, Canada, most of the population of Canada lives right along this borderline with the United States. Of course, there's the wheat belt up here and the big oil fields up here. There's a lot of gold mining over here, and there's lots of agriculture and timber everywhere else. But yeah, Janet Webster. Ah, yes. Janet Webster, we know who you are. We know who you are. We know where you are. Good evening, Necessary Truth. Thank you very much, dear Necessary. I've got it over here from last time. Thank you for your kindness. We're going to do this tonight. And, oh, excuse me, I'm still very, very kind of tired and fragile from the holidays and being sick over the holidays. I tried to get some nap and rest today before the show, but I didn't get enough. So forgive me if I sound a little bit dopey. So right now, there's Precious Moments, freezing, literally frozen to the core, bursting pipes, frozen pipes with ice. The ice expands, as you know. If that's the pipe, then the water is in the pipe. And if the water underground, if the pipes are underground, or if there's anything in your house that is exposed to the cold enough, that water will freeze inside the pipe. And if it freezes very, very hard, the ice will expand and it will literally break open the metal pipe. It's mind-boggling, okay? It's terrifying to have your pipes burst. So, in contrast, okay, there's precious moments north of the equator, and here is Karen Clark south of the equator. So over here right now, it is a beautiful balmy summer, almost a really hot summer in New Zealand and Tasmania and Australia, also South Africa and Argentina and Chile and Uruguay. Beautiful, beautiful down here on this part of the world. N. Edwards, you've been here before. Thank you very much. Hello, Path. Greetings. Path's having Wi-Fi difficulties. Okay, no worries. Thank you for dropping in and letting us know. Yeah. Well, we're all doing the best we can, I'm sure. That's normal. That's what everyone does here on this channel. Almost everybody here is a little bit of a compassion junkie, and we almost become more concerned about other people than we are about ourselves. And thus we end up with the fate of many other compassion junkies, where we are left wondering, what did I do wrong? Now I'm the one who needs some TLC. Oh no! Alright, so let's get to the Astrodoodle. I just want to show you this one for today. I've been looking at lots of different sources for raw information, and there's so much stuff out there, and there's some really high-powered astrologers who really go into this stuff in great detail. And today I just added a couple things that really I don't normally add, and I can't really comment too much because they're a little bit more esoteric. They're harder for me to chart, and I don't track them as well. So anyway, as you can see, we have a big smear of red over here. And we've got a harsh red angle over here. Okay. This is Black Moon Lilith. I don't know much about Black Moon Lilith, but it's a difficult energy to handle. It's kind of like the energy of like a default setting of being in a bad mood and angry, and your emotions are in charge of you rather than you in charge of your emotions. And apparently right now there's a big hard T-square Mars opposing Black Moon Lilith. So that's a bit of frustration and anxiety and emotional turmoil, and it's in a hard square with Neptune. Okay, so that right here is an invisible T-square. I wouldn't normally put this on my chart, but it is so pronounced on some other people's computers that I thought I'd mention it. And the next one over here is Eris. And now Eris is very slow moving, and just like Chiron, it's been sitting here for ages. And Eris represents the energy of the female warrior type vibe, where enough is enough, where especially if you think of like Viking culture, where when the guys are off rampaging around the place, slaughtering and killing and trying to get animals and food and conquer land for their villages and their families, if they can't have enough back home, the Vikings got a reputation for being extremely violent when they needed to be, which of course they didn't. I don't think they really loved doing it, but they realized that if we don't, we're gonna die, because it's so cold up where they are. Anyway, at the same time, it was not unusual for the women in the villages to also be extremely skilled with warfare and weapons and fighting to the death as necessary. And of course, the energy still persists today as the wounded feminine psyche, the energy of womankind having been demeaned and abused, raped and pillaged for thousands of years. And with Eris and Aries, that's basically like saying enough is enough. So you've probably noticed over the last few decades, girl power and is becoming much more prominent, and it's something that you ignore at your peril. You seriously do not want to be on the wrong side of an angry woman who is justifiably angry. Okay? Doesn't matter. It's very dangerous. Let's put it that way. Now, of course, we have the other culprits over here. Pluto sitting hard over at 28 degrees, roughly. Sun very close, Venus very close. So that's still, the establishment behaving very, very badly. This represents the energy of the elite, the people who want to be in charge and control. You could say, we've talked about this before loosely on the channel. We're talking about the people who own the world, the technocrats, the massive global corporations, the big places like Vanguard, Fidelity, BlackRock, State, and a bunch of others, and of course all the Federal Reserve banking system of America and the federal government of America, all the central banks across the world, especially Europe, and all those institutions that are so bloated that they have become completely oblivious of the reason why they started in the first place. And now they have become these massive cancerous monsters that are trying to devour the earth for their own purpose. The U.S. federal government exists purely for its own existence, and we, the people, are being farmed relentlessly. And the people at the very top of the pyramids of power, they're doing everything they can to take it to the next level. It's like they want to take factory farming of human beings to the extreme, like never done before, and have total global totalitarian control over the whole system. And guess how they want to do it? Through the global financial system. It's a complete, utter chokehold that they're trying to impose across planet Earth. We can talk about this another time if anyone's interested. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. They're very, very, very clever. They're also very evil. So watch out in case you start hearing more and more about all those things. Hello, Robin. I see you there. The global financial system is fracturing. It is going to break. The status quo, the legacy global banking system is falling apart, and it is working very hard to try and rebuild itself as it falls apart. It wants to reconstitute itself as some sort of monstrous beast type of machine through the CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, where every human being on Earth is tracked and monitored through the global financial system. It's absolutely terrifying. If anybody wants to talk about it, we can do that another time. I got some readings coming in. Mars is hard squared against Neptune, okay? So there's an extremely violent outpouring and demand for truth and justice and wisdom about universal laws, universal truth for humanity. There's huge protests all over Europe right now. Massive protests in Europe against the injections and against the tyrannical lockdowns. It's mind-boggling. Okay? Of course, it's not hardly reported in the United States. Right now, the United States appears to be like this benign, retarded infant, the way it's being treated by our so-called elected leaders. It's shameful. It's embarrassing. It is absolutely grotesque what is happening between China and the United States. It's grotesque with what's happening with the elites and how they are projecting their energy across planet Earth. And of course, nature being what it is, there will be a resistance. So the big resistance is happening in the world of global finance in terms of cryptocurrencies and alternative worlds of money where we're talking about honest money, real money. But again, it's still very, very, very new. It's a highly volatile, in fact, some ways very dangerous world to play with. So be very, very careful, okay? Jupiter has just moved into Pisces. We just had the moon in Pisces. Moon is now here in Aries. While the moon was in Pisces, I don't know if any of you felt it, but I felt this very serene kind of calm of acceptance about no matter how evil things are in the world, we're still here. And there is an element of humanity that is very, very pure and loving. We are loving, we are loved. Okay, we got 2 more readings coming in. Saturn and Mercury in Aquarius, hard squaring with Uranus and Taurus. That's the financial things going on there. We talked about the nodal axis last week. It is changing. It is going to be switching to the Scorpio-Taurus axis over the next year or so. So the issues to do with global finance are going to be amplified dramatically. And they're going to reach a point of critical mass this year. Okay, in 2022, there are going to be some major financial global, I would say, events. Could be especially, I would imagine, some kind of crash, some kind of breakdown, some kind of massive implosion of some kind. The initial shock waves started here in January 2020, as you know. I wrote about that in the book. But the ripple effects are spreading out over a period of years and years, basically into early 2024. So we're still deep in the zone for shock and chaos, all right? So just remember that, all right? Okay, let's move on. Let's see here. Greetings. I've got a reading coming up for Robin. Hello, Robin. Okay. And Robin wants what blessings are coming for me. Okay? Blessings. I'll put that over here. And we had another one from ECAT. Okay? And you want to have a snapshot glimpse about this week. Okay, ECAT, you've got it. Let's have a look. Question marks for what's happening, what's up for this week. Well, as you know, we are heading in the direction of the full moon. Okay, so I won't be able to take any more readings, so don't bother. I would love to have a lot of, strength and courage to be able to do lots of readings and take huge donations and go for hours. But I really can't handle it right now. So right now, let's just say we have a full house, okay? We're going to read for Precious Moments, Gregory Ross, Robin's Realms readings, and ECAT, and we're going to have the group reading. I'm actually thinking of starting with the group reading because I owe that to Necessary Truth. And I believe, if I'm right, Necessary Truth is here. So let's have a look. Am I right? Yes, there you are. I see you. Yeah, the maps. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay. All right, let's have a look here. Hello, Queen of Water. Greetings down there in Australia. Oh my God, you guys are having a real SHIT storm down there with your politics and the bug, right? So there is Queen of Water over here. Here is, I'm getting confused with all the technology. I'm trying to run all these softwares simultaneously to do this show. It gets a little bit tricky sometimes. So there's Queen of Water. There's Karen Clark. Who knows, maybe LINA will show up. She's over here. That would cover the whole of the southern hemisphere. Sometimes, I can't remember her name, but she's over there in South Africa. That would be wonderful if we had all of that at once. Wow. Anyway, Queen of Water says it is a crap circus over there. Yeah, I mean, it's astounding, the little snippets of news I'm getting. It's shocking what's happening in Australia. Absolutely shocking. Yes, the maps. Thank you. So, Precious, we have over here. Gregory's over here. Robin is over here. Ekat, I can't remember. Is it Florida? Texas. I can't remember, Ekat. And Necessary is up here. Anyway, you know what? I think we're going to start with the group reading. Because you were very kind last week, Necessary, and you didn't really get your moment. So, let's just freaking do it. Let's be really, really courageous and just dive in and do it, okay? My gosh, it's been very strange over here. Hello, everybody. Greetings. It's been very strange over here. I basically kind of allowed for it. I look at the charts, as you know, and I look at it just like the same way a lot of people just open their windows and look out the windows to see what's going on today. Or they switch on their morning mainstream media news and they check the weather and so on. I do the same thing with my astrology every day. I want to see what's going on. But I treat it as weather. And it's not good or it's not bad. It's how we deal with it. It's how we respond. Now, for precious moment, if it's negative 50 centigrade, then that's vicious. So you have to take immediate emergency action. So, yeah, the Neptune energy is still very strong, okay? Especially now that Jupiter's entered there. So, we're going to see, I think, some really kind of beautiful, benevolent events over the next year or so as Jupiter unfolds through Pisces. And I think it's going to wake people up that there is hope, that there really, really is hope in the face of such, I would say, demonic influences. In other words, the show is not over. Humanity will persist. I've noticed things like, all these terrorist attacks on humanity by the folks up there. Not heaven, not your invisible friends, not your guardian angels, not your loved ones from the great beyond. I'm talking about human beings who live on this planet right now who are actually hollow, empty beings. They are living complete lifestyles, multi-generational lifestyles, completely ensnared and shackled by the energies of lust and greed. It's lust and greed for power, for control, and for money, and for everything three-dimensional that feels like it makes you alive. And so, you get all the sexual predators and so on who can't help themselves because it's an extremely powerful experience, and they become addicted, just like with oxycodone or fentanyl or something. And they justify it all because there's so many of them. They cluster together. That's how it is. Let's make it legal. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I have to be very careful. I have a lot of controversial views that would get me shut down. So I just kind of keep quiet. I'm living a life where apart from this channel, I'm more or less invisible, right? And I'm kind of doing it deliberately, okay? Yeah, there are a lot of empty beings across planet Earth right now. I don't know where to start, frankly. It's like watching these bizarre zombie movies or something, which I don't really do. I saw something the other night. I was enticed. Love Triber recommended something called Don't Look Up. And it was about a big asteroid coming to Earth and how nobody really cared except a few scientists. And everyone else was looking at it as a marketing strategy to make more money. And, it's just really, really bizarre. Anyway, as you know, I could go ranting for hours about all this stuff, and then eventually the channel would be you know, kaput. So I have to just shut up. And I have to heavily censor my mouth so that I can do this show, these readings live, and still be monetized with Super Chat and just be grateful for that, you know. And of course the PayPal donations are wonderful too. Hello Maria, greetings, I hope you're doing okay. All right, so okay, sorry, I'm very kind of like spacey at the moment. I lived through a couple of days with Moon, Jupiter, and Neptune in Pisces, and that has a huge impact on me personally. But now the Moon is in Aries, and so I felt a little bit more fired up today, and that has kind of helped me get a little bit more motivated. But I'm still in a very, very sublime, subdued kind of condition. I sometimes watch, prepper channels. I watch the Epoch Times for news clips. I watch the NTD China Focus, NTD World Focus. I check in with Global Finances on all the different sites that I can find them. And I'm looking for truth. I'm looking for facts. And luckily, there are a few places out there where you can get that. Otherwise, the rest of it is complete mind control through the mainstream media. So you have to be aware of that. It's very hard to tell because it's so incredibly beautifully orchestrated. You don't know that you're being farmed. Remember, the folks at the very top of the pyramid, their goal, their objective is to farm you. Just like factory farming with cows, pigs, sheep, chickens, turkeys, salmon, sardines, lobster, crab, all of that. Anyway, let's have a big cheer for 2022. Woohoo! We're here. We survived 2021. Woo! All right, so that's me getting really hyper excited. Okay, here we go. All right, let's brace ourselves. We're going to do a group reading. This is for all of us. This is really for planet Earth, but most especially for us. All right, so cards are well shuffled in advance. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go to the last second so that we're all a witness. Now, when I do this spread, typically I kind of zen out somewhere and I forget who I am or where I am or what I'm doing. And it just turns into whatever they call it, stream of consciousness. I hope you're okay with that. And yes, necessary truth. Very, very interesting observation. If you saw the movie, Maria saw the movie, I saw the movie, Love Triber saw the movie, and it was really kind of funny and amusing and a very good satire on the human condition. I think it was very well done. I hardly watch movies or Netflix and things like that anymore. Mostly I watch educational stuff and I'm looking for information, raw information that I can process so I can come up with my perspectives in order for me just to survive the next day. I find that even though I own a lot of my own time, I have extremely limited amounts of time that I can devote to anything else besides kind of what I'm doing here already for you guys and for myself and a few other people during the week and so on. And roughly maybe an hour a day I spend doing my research and homework so that I can, basically calibrate myself for the next few hours or the next few days. I do not like being a victim of the planets. I can tell when I am operating unconsciously because I have a sudden wake-up moment and I realize, oh my God, I've been operating unconsciously. Now, and that's different from operating deeply and purely in the moment where I am trusting completely in my divine self, okay? When I talk about operating subconsciously, I'm talking about operating from fear, from childhood conditioning, from educational conditioning, societal conditioning, political conditioning, financial conditioning, and mainstream media conditioning up to this period in my life. I am still impacted, just like every one of you. And so it's a process of daily decontamination. It's like constantly having to use, one of those lint rollers, dust rollers, to keep removing psychic, spiritual, emotional, humanitarian, humanity's lint and dust that just is simply a byproduct of life and living here on Earth. Anyway, there's a few channels. What's his name? Infinite Waters. He's always coming out with something positive, trying to put a smile on all of the creepy, satanical stuff that's going on, and to explain it all in such a way so that we don't feel so frightened or sad or victimized. I am not as good as that, at that as he is, but he did a splendid job recently, one of his shows. All right, so I'm going to use Tarot Lumination Heart Spread. And the idea with this spread is that it goes to the very, very core essence below our conscious awareness, where the heart needs what it needs, it wants what it wants, and it's operating at a subliminal level, and it's hoping that our conscious waking self is aware, so that, like, if this is deep heart energy and this is your so-called conscious energy, if there's a huge disparity, you've got a problem, okay? That means you're living more and more and more from your neck upwards, more like a robot on autopilot and conditioning, like I just talked about. So the idea is to live a life where your deep heart soul energy is in unison with your conscious awakening, so that you can do those things we talk about on this channel, like be loving, be loved. It sounds so simple, but believe me, simple is not easy. You are loving, you are loved. If you are loving, you are loved. What does that look like? It's a different story for everybody. But love is a very pure thing. Love is essentially one of the definitions I like best. Love is the deliberate, conscious, willing decision of the self to sacrifice some of your own comfort, time, and convenience in order to foster and nurture the spiritual growth, health, and development of another deserving soul. And that includes yourself too. And there are many times, probably like 80% of the time, that's actually really hard to do. It's quite different from the idea of romantic love, where everything is, operating through hopes and expectations and hormones at a three-dimensional level. I'm talking about love where, how do you deal with a sick parent? Okay? How do you deal with death? How do you deal with the death of someone in your life? How do you deal with financial catastrophe of someone in your life? Are you willing to, figure that out and figure, like, is it appropriate for me to intervene or help, or is the best thing that you can do to run away? Those are very tough decisions to make. Anyway, love is as love does. Okay, let's really simplify it. Love is as love does. Love is a very definable, measurable energy field when you talk about it that way. Love is as love does. Okay, I'm going to say hello. Did we do that already? Did we say hello already? I can't remember. I think we did. Greetings and hello. This is Tarot Lumination from Las Vegas. It's pretty chilly, but it's not freezing. Nowhere near freezing. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, I'm going to have a sip of some iced tea here. Cheers, everybody. One last little tiny mini shuffle, and then we'll go for it, all right? Keep dropping cards. Please ignore me. Don't read anything into that, please. Remember, I'm trying to preface this whole show tonight letting you know that I'm still in a very kind of flimsy condition. And I'm hoping to heal myself and improve gently and slowly as we go along. I'm still here. I'm still here. Thank you for your encouraging notes there, Necessary Truth. All right, I'm going to prepare myself. I'm going to take off my hoodie. Just give me a second. Stay there. Don't run away. It's really simple. It won't take a moment. I'm just going to tuck it over here. And let's see. Okay. All right, I'm back. All right. Cards are shuffled. Let's bless this deck. Bless every single card in the deck. Bless all of you for being here. Bless all of you for your kind generosity in the moment, but also over the years. It's amazing we can still do this. I mean, it sounds very slow, but I'm still trying to figure out ways that I can survive long term, keep the theme and the energy of the channel going, and perhaps in some ways make it better, but I'm really stumped at the moment. I know a lot about what's supposed to happen, but making it happen is a whole other thing. Look who just showed up. Lina from Argentina. So now we have completed most of the Southern Hemisphere. We've got Karen Clark in New Zealand. We've got Queen of Water in there in Australia. We've got Lina from Argentina over here. Now we need, I can't remember her name, from South Africa. I wish I could remember. And then we would have the whole of the Southern Hemisphere represented tonight. Wow. All right, here we go. We love you too, Lina. By the way, if anyone's interested, you should be. Lina did a beautiful rendition of my song, Taste Your Dreams. It's actually on the channel. You can go to the Lumination channel and scroll through the videos, and you will find Lina singing that song. It's beautiful. She does a better job than I do. It's just beautiful. All right, here we go. This is it. Group reading. Here's the heart center. The heart needs what it needs. It wants what it wants. And it does whatever it can to try and bring its energy into full consciousness so that we, the actual physical body that owns this heart, becomes aware. Here's the energy fields that we're bringing in with us. Think of this like baggage or luggage or, what's in your pockets, people. Over here is the energy of now, the healing power of now, the power of now. This is a scary place. Most people are terrified of the now. They dwell on the future or they linger on the past, and it's almost like they're doing everything they can to avoid the energy of now, because for a lot of people, the energy of now is very painful. Okay, let's look at it this way. There are hundreds of millions of people in deep pain and suffering around the world through simple poverty, the simple kind of poverty that happens from the expansion of the human kind without any thought for consequence. So there are regions over here, okay, over here, over here, over here, hundreds of millions of people in deep abject poverty. It also stretches out through parts of the Middle East, all the way up into Kazakhstan, through the bulk of Africa. They have a lot of problems here with poverty. And their population is exploding. It's a deadly combination. There's quite a lot of poverty over here in Central America as well, in certain parts of South America, certain parts of Eastern Europe, certain parts of Russia, okay? Even in the United States, there's probably about 20 or 30 million people in deep abject poverty. Sounds crazy, but it's true. Anyway, I mean, we're talking about the poverty where your house is covered in water twice a day, up to your ankles, up to your knees. That's how bad it is. We're talking about poverty where your kids are living off of basically being dumpster divers. They live off literally going through garbage to try and find sustenance. All right, enough of that scary stuff. The heart center's here. This is the energy we're coming in with. This is our baggage. We have a lot of baggage on the gross scale. Over here is the power of now. This is the healing power of now, but it's also the scary power of now. Once you understand the power of now, then you realize everything comes down to decisions. What now? What now? What now? What are you going to do right now with your energy, in your time, your resources, your skills, your talents? Are you going to continue to live your life on autopilot according to the conditioning from the mainstream media? Or are you going to take action and deliberately seek out the truth in your life? I'm talking about universal truth, but also your own personal truth. Where are you compromised in your life, in your chart, in your heart? Because I guarantee wherever you find this energy, over here and here, this is where there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering. This is where you have to reveal it to heal it, okay? So that could be anywhere in your chart. But on the universal global scale, it is to do with mass global sickness of every kind. A lot of it is brought on by humanity to itself. Anyway, I don't want to scare you. So the healing power of decisions over here. And what does that look like? How do we activate that energy? Okay, in other words, how do we, press the button to make a decision so that the decision actually triggers the movement of energy, which leads to outcomes, okay? What does that look like, once you make a decision? Now, the next scary card over here is what happens if you subconsciously, spiritually refused to live in the now. What are you losing? What are we losing? What are we sacrificing for choosing to be unconscious and choosing to live without love? We might think that we are loving and that we are loved, but human beings are very, very good at deceiving themselves. We are experts. And we allow ourselves to be deceived as well. Because sometimes it's so much easier to live in lies than live in truth. And then, where does this take us? You'll see that it is circular. One thing leads to another. This is like an energy field, like a pulsing heart energy. I'm hoping you can see that this looks sort of like a heart shape. That's the whole idea. And then I'm going to pull up a single card here, which is basically going to represent the planets as of today, right now, on a global scale. So let's go for it, okay? Here we are. Judgment. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, 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 ha. It's like literally like, I told you so. I'm not saying, this is not me, Tarot Lumination, saying, I told you so. To me, this is an indication of universal laws, universal truth, very loud message coming from Mars and Sagittarius, trying to wake everybody the up. Wake up, people. It is time to liberate yourselves. It is time to break free of the chains of injustice, deception, betrayal, lies, perversion, possession, being shackled by undescribable powers. In other words, a lot of people feel that their lives are hopeless, but they don't know why. Well, there is actually a reason. There is a tremendous amount of what you could just call evil that is being deliberately spread across planet Earth by people who benefit from evil. It's an incredibly powerful force right now, okay? And this is like I told you so. So the judgment card here is saying it's up to us as humanity to liberate ourselves. But that comes down to the individual. Each one of us has to listen to the call of truth, the call of justice, the call of divine awakening. Please, for heaven's sake, wake the uck up. That's what this is saying. It's a very loud message here from Mars and Sagittarius. Wake the uck up. This is the energy of humanity living in delusion. Okay? And Mars is literally there trying to wake it up. It's like humanity is on a gurney right now, and it is in a sort of spasmodic coma, and Mars is trying to inject a huge shot of epinephrine to wake up humanity. So like we wake up in shock and we realize, oh my God, things are really, really bad and we got to do something about it. Finally. So there we are. This energy is smothering the whole of this. Okay, the heart is calling out. Okay, it's a very, very blunt, violent truth. In other words, if you do not heed the truth, if you do not listen to the depth of your heart and soul that is screaming out, saying, there's something really wrong right now. There is something very, very wrong with humankind, humanity, the human race, the species that we call Homo sapiens. I call it Homo stupidicus, frankly. We are so completely consumed by lies, deception, betrayal, perversion, greed, lust. And if we do not change, then we essentially are sentencing ourselves to turn into manure, mold, fungus, spiritual death. In other words, it's like we're condemning ourselves to becoming hollow. Let's say I watched something last night which really scared me. It terrified me. It was this upper middle class family in China that was devoted to the Chinese system of complete 100% government surveillance in their lives. They were deliberately inviting the government to surveil their whole life through their phones and through cameras because they believe in the system. They believe in the lie. They believe in the squalor. They believe in the evil because it's so beautifully presented. It seems like a utopia. And they don't understand what's actually happening. They are sentencing themselves to a life in chains. It might feel like a gilded prison, but in fact it is a life in chains. So in other words, humanity, wake the uck up, because if you don't, you're doomed. We, humanity, are doomed. The best thing to do with this energy, the death card, is to what you call die before you die. Okay? Some of you might have heard that expression. It sounds very scary. I'm not trying to scare people. I hope there's no little children on this show tonight watching. I have it listed on YouTube that my channel is for adults only. Okay? So technically I'm allowed to swear, I guess, but I'm trying not to. I do like to swear now and again. But anyway, with the death card, there's sometimes this theme of die before you die. In other words, all of us here, to some degree, are aware that we are surrounded by this sort of very super hyper toxic evil energy field that is being presented as salvation. Okay, it's not good. It's not good. So what's happening is certain percentages of the global population are aware of this and they're taking steps. And the steps basically mimic the concept of die before you die. What they're doing is they're literally killing themselves, removing themselves from the status quo, from what appears to be reality. And they're going into an alternate world. Some people call it the world of preppers. They're going off grids. They're living in deliberately, they're sequestering themselves from all the things that people normally lust after. You know, big money, big power, everything being wonderful all the time, and everything being controlled and monitored in such a way that everything's wonderful all the time. All you have to do is believe in the command and control systems from the elites. I'm not one of those people. I am essentially making myself virtually invisible. I'm not actually killing myself, but I'm doing a systematic die before you die. In other words, they're not going to get me. They're not going to get me. I'm already building an alternative world where it looks to the outside that I'm dead, I'm dying. But in fact, I'm regenerating myself. That's the energy of transformation of the death card. It's death turning into like manure, cobwebs, maggots, reconstitution, and it acts like manure and fertilizer for new growth. It's the energy of what happens in a forest, you know. Beautiful, spectacular trees grow and bloom and eventually die. They shed leaves, and that stuff putrefies in the ground through very violent actions with bugs and germs and worms, and that fertilizes the seeds for new growth. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So do not be scared by these cards or this reading, okay? This reading so far, just with these two cards, it's a massive alarm bell. It's a huge alarm bell. Think of it as the check engine light flashing on your car. Big, big, loud, and red, and lots of smoke coming out from under the hood. We'll deal with it, okay? We're going to deal with all that stuff one way, somehow. We're not dead yet, okay? The show will go on, but what's it going to look like? Anyway, the heart is shouting very loudly. Let's keep going, folks. Okay. So, what about this global baggage? Okay. To me, it feels over here, with the Eight of Pentacles, that we have a lot to lose. Okay? A lot of us have a lot vested in our lives right now, whether we like it or know it or not. Perhaps you're heavily in debt with credit cards, college loans, business loans, mortgages. Perhaps you're working extremely hard to save money. Perhaps you are developing cryptocurrencies as an alternative world so that you can accrue and maintain wealth going forward. Either way, the issue and subject of wealth is very prominent here. It makes me feel like, for example, if everyone here was alive and in my studio right now, and you guys would all be out there, I would be looking at you, you'd all be looking at me. The main issue is like, how are we going to survive financially? What are we going to do? And everybody's situation is completely different. There are some common themes, which is basically like global inflation. The harder we work, the less we make, and the more expensive everything becomes. Meat, fruit, vegetables, houses, cars, gasoline, produce, energy, electric, gas, oil, coal. The prices are going through the roof. We're working harder and harder and harder to try and generate more and more money to buy stuff and get stuff that we have to have. We have to invest in our lives going forward. But it's like, it's futile. It's very scary. All of us here have a lot to lose, okay? What about now? What about the power of now? What does that look like? The healing situation of now. Queen of Cups. Oh, to me, this is really beautiful and hopeful. We need this. To me, this is another very loud message like, hey, don't worry about what Tarot Lumination said over here and over here and over here. The show is not over, people. The energy of now can be signified or demonstrated by the Queen of Cups energy, where the Queen of Cups is saying, you know what? It's still a freaking beautiful planet. Nature is an amazing thing. Humankind is an amazing thing. In fact, planet Earth and humankind and the whole concept of organic life is probably the most amazing thing, not just in our solar system, but the whole universe. And human beings have this thing called consciousness, which in its highest form expresses itself as love. So the question is, going forward now, what does that look like? How the uck are we going to express ourselves going forward with the healing power of love? I can sit here as Terra Lumination say to myself, oh, I ask for the healing power of love to fill my body from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my mind from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my heart from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my soul from up above. And that's great. I can say that. But it's just like, okay, and then what happens? Well, you have to kind of wait and just allow that energy to come to you, because there are a lot of questions here. The question is, like, what does love look like? When I talk about love is as love does, okay, so what does that look like? What are the most loving actions that you can do, measurable actions that each one of us can do in order to be our most loving versions of ourselves? Because that is ultimately the best thing you can do, number one, for yourself, but ultimately for your loved ones and neighbors, and from there the whole of humanity. The question is, what does that look like? We have to understand that each one of us is a custodian of the healing power of love. We are all bestowed with the capacity to love. Love is as love does. So what does that look like? Especially as adults, as children it's quite different. You're still in the learning phase, but as adults, we have a responsibility to be loving. Love is as love does. So we have to make decisions about what does that look like. Whoa, you! So we got the Knight of Wands here. To me it means making extremely bold, courageous, fearless decisions going forward, using the healing power of you to all and everything that represents that nasty, toxic, cancerous, evil goop that is saturating planet Earth from the elites who benefit from that process. Okay? If you think, look at it this way, if you think of planet Earth as a massive farm, okay, we've talked about this before. This is a massive debt farm occupied by debt cows. This is a massive slave camp operated by slave people. And this is a very squalid marriage here between the United States and China more than anything else. And that marriage has spawned children all across the world. And it's very, very toxic. And humanity is starting to realize that there's something very, very wrong. So, with the Knight of Wands here, the decisions going forward are like, okay, if you want to just sit at home and listen to Terra Lumination and messages of terror and doom and gloom and the world's being taken over by these tyrannical, let's say, totalitarians, yes, that's true. But we're not dead yet, and they're not going to take us. They're not taking me down. As long as you're here at this channel, they're not taking you down either. We have a lot invested. The question is, what are we going to do going forward? With the Knight of Wands here, the message is to go forward. It means we're going to have to make more outrageous, bold decisions about how to be loving. In other words, looking in the mirror, examining your life today at this moment in time, it's like a holy bleep moment, looking in the mirror like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Literally, what am I going to do? Because if I am not loving, then I end up basically being sucked into the vortex of the massive elites. You end up becoming part of the massive cancerous global tumor that is spreading everywhere. Do you want to be one of those cells? I don't. I want to be immune from that stuff. So I have to make extremely bold, sometimes outrageous, highly controversial, courageous decisions to basically mind my own business and reconfigure myself to life going forward And that includes die before I die. In other words, I am actually willing to sacrifice certain so-called desirable aspects of life, as we know it on earth, in order to get myself in a position to enjoy things that I value even more than the traditional things in life. I'm not a very big consumer. I love cars. I love beautiful homes. I love beautiful food. I love beautiful art. I love beautiful music. I've been exposed to all of that. I've had so much privilege in my life, and yet I have almost nothing at my disposal in any kind of obvious way. I'm sort of like a sand painting. I'm like one of those Zen Zen monk people over there in Tibet. Every day is like a sand painting for me. I have to create something beautiful new from scratch, and at the end of the day, it's all gone. But that's not the end of me. I just start all over again. It just takes a lot of will power. Okay, this is the will to live. Let's put it that way. We have to literally, it's like we have to, as an individual, each one of you has to start to cultivate the will to live and to start to understand that love is as love does. These really simple terms that I'm using have really profound implications. So what does that look like for you in your particular life? Love is as love does. So what are you going to do? How does that look like for you? Let's have a look. Oh my God. Okay, this is a card of sacred opportunity. The Ace of Wands is saying, to me this makes me feel like the way to activate this energy, the way to activate the will to live, the way to activate your survival instincts, the way to like supercharge your immune system so that you are not a victim of this energy. You are transformed. In fact, you grow and prosper. I know for a fact, personally in my life, that this is happening to me. It's because I'm making conscious, deliberate decisions to die before I die. I'm not going to let anyone take... It's almost like I'd rather have nothing in their world and everything in my world than have everything in their world and nothing in my world. In my world, I want to live from my heart center. In their world, they want you to be completely hollow, completely emptied out like a single cell in a massive tumor, and at their disposal, where they just farm you and take all the energy and life force out of you. This storyline here is an exact 180-degree contradiction. So with the Ace of Wands here, the message is, how do we activate that? It's like what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to go over here personally. It's just like you do it by invocation. It's almost like you have an excuse to go out in the middle of the night and howl at the moon and scream and yell and say things like, point fingers at all the demons, the imaginary demons, like, you're not going to take me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Remember that song from Chumbawamba? I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to take me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to take me down. Anyway, never mind. So, copyright issues. So, with the Ace of Wands, the way to activate this, in other words, the way to activate the healing power of love, the way to get into the energy field of love is as love does, is invoke it. And it's kind of what I was talking about earlier. But now I'm doing it in earnest. I'm doing it in earnest. I'm going to use the word I, but I'm actually kind of implying we as well. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my body from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my mind from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my heart from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my soul from up above. So it is spoken, so it is done. And then you wait for it to happen. And if you repeat it enough times, it's like you're brainwashing yourself. And then that energy starts to coalesce around you. And it might take you off on a tangent that is completely unexpected. Do not fear. Okay? That's exactly what's supposed to happen. And then you follow that energy field. And the more you go along that vortex, you realize it all happens by invitation. It all happens by invocation. You ask for divine guidance. You ask for your invisible friends to send you messages. You ask for your loved ones from the great beyond to give you hints, real-time hints in life. Show me little synchronistic things that assure me and remind me that I am on path. And guess what happens? It's amazing how it works, honestly. All right. Stephanie Statzer, my husband of 23 years, just passed away. I just want to hear his voice one more time. Wow. Love Triber has a dear friend, Pam, and her husband passed away late last night. 43 years of marriage. I was kind of shocked. Anyway, there you go. Physical death is not the end of the story. It's just the start of another one, okay? Anyway, let's keep going with the reading. Thank you for listening. So this reading is kind of, in a way, it's kind of frightening in how stark and blatant this is, but it's also gives me a deep sense of hope and encouragement, and all about the activation of the will to live. In other words, it's just like supercharging your immune system. Psychologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, literally, your immune system. What are you going to do? What are you doing, or what have you done that you know deep down is highly toxic to your life? That needs to stop. What are you going to do now? Love is dove. How are you going to live a healthier life? Living by example. The most powerful thing you can do is to live by example. Reveal it to heal it. Find out what is most toxic and unhealthy in your life and admit that, and then deal with it. Is it an attitude? Is it a state of mind? Is it a physiological situation? Whatever it is. Deal with it and face it in raw truth. Okay. So what does that look like over here? Okay, don't be scared of the Four of Pentacles. Let's say, so the message here that I'm hearing from the heart, like the pulse message here, is that, let's say we heed the message and we make very bold, courageous decisions to be loving, be loved, understanding that love is as love does. We're taking action. Powerful, vivid, like survival training, action, you know. Literally, what are each one of you doing right now to protect your finances, protect your health, protect your family, protect your home, protect your belief system, protect your surroundings, protect your loved ones? Are you coalescing in a community that is really healthy? Are you making good friends that are really good for you and disposing of relationships and situations that are not good for you? So, when we take this in the positive here and we do act positively, we do invoke the healing power of love in order that love is as love does can be activated in our life. That's literally like putting your whole body and immune system under one of those electroshock zappers that wake you up once you've been traumatized or unconscious or near death. I forgot what they're called. You know those things where you put it on your chest and it goes zzz, zzz, and it re-jolts the heart. That's what this energy is about. When you do that, it's an indication that you can start to rebuild foundations. Okay, this is a very powerful card of strength and building new foundations, new structures. Okay, from the collapse of the old. We still have huge resources at our disposal, but we need to allow what is unhealthy to die off. In fact, let's kill it off. And then we need to restructure and reconvene with that which is loving and create new foundations for the future. I am personally doing this. My interpretation for myself is to become more vested in cryptocurrencies in such a way that my life goes in exactly the opposite direction to what the elites want for us, and such that I can create and build wealth and foundations and stabilities for the future, instead of living in terror and fear that my life is falling apart. That's personal. But for all of us in general, we can basically rebuild. It's like a complete, like when you talk about housing, for example, take an old house, it's beyond certain repairs. You have to strip it down to the wood and the frame, and then you rebuild from scratch. You've got a whole new foundation, new starts, new beginnings, new structures, okay? What happens if we completely ignore this message, okay? We're going to end up victims, okay? With the Seven of Wands here, if we ignore the storyline here, we are asking for trouble. We are asking for multiple new versions of trouble to come at us, to the point where we feel we are being attacked relentlessly, okay? On the other hand, if we do take heed of the message here, and we allow ourselves to die before we die, and we reconstitute ourselves by deliberate choice, hard work, courageous decisions, and we rebuild and restructure, we will prevail against all odds, okay? No fear, okay? Where does that take us to? Okay. To me, this is very much about the Aquarian theme of reconnecting with our loved ones in a new kind of community environment. This is a very powerful theme for me personally. Some of you are aware of that. I've always had this kind of like wish for a community type of environment. And I've had more and more examples shown to me recently where here on three-dimensional terms, here on Earth, we would be talking about a few acres of rich land in a very safe place, and it would be occupied by a community of loving souls who in some way have probably already known each other before in previous lives and are reconnecting together in this lifetime in a very loving way. Being loving and being loved, where being loving and being loved is the mantra, and it is the name of the, it's like the name of a ranch, the name of a community. Be loving, be loved, or something like that. And it's like you create, to me, it's like you create a community based in and on and around love. Okay? In other words, this energy has a chance to come into fruition here by choice, by deliberate, bold choice, and a lot of work and reinvestment and restructuring. This would be an almost idyllic thing for myself. Some of you might know about that already. I talked about having a piece of property somewhere, maybe in the United States, maybe in New Zealand, where I would be able to offer my services in a much more practical way, in a kind of community environment type of way. It happens all over the earth. There are lots of like tiny home communities in America now. There are lots of agriculture and farming communities that work together to live outside and around the tyranny. Okay? That's what's happening. And we can do this. We, as a group, can do this. So, seriously, the show is not over by any means. What's happening is Earth, right now, today, over the next few years, especially with these markings here, over the next few years, the world is going to transform on a monumental scale never ever seen before in human history. Ever. Okay? It's going to happen in the global financial system. It's going to happen in the global markets and with resources like gasoline, timber, electricity, food, water, coal, wheat, soy, meat, fish, fruits and vegetables. It's a brave new world. We don't have to live in a terrifying Orwellian society. It's going to be there. It's going to be out there, but we choose not to participate. We are going to create our own parallel alternative society. A communal type of environment where we are loving and we are loved by choice. All right, thank you very much. That's your reading. I hope that made sense to some of you. And you can put that in your pocket and rest assured that the show is not over by any means. I know a lot of you have been very sick. I know a lot of people here who are very sick. I know a lot of people here indirectly through friends of friends and so on who had they had all their injections. They had multiple injections and boosters, and they're in hospitals now today. Double pneumonia, on oxygen machines, death, all of that. Anyway, I'm going to shuffle this up and we're going to actually get on with the readings. Thank you, Necessary Truth. Everybody here tonight, you can thank Necessary Truth for that group reading. All right? So there we go. Let's tuck this over here. We did that. Let's tuck this over here. I'm just going to shuffle this up. Okay? Yeah, a lot of death is on the horizon at the moment. Stephanie Statzer, you're so lost. Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry. Okay? Okay. Oh, yeah, by the way, Stephanie, for example, if you're not used to this channel, almost everybody here is some kind of compassion junkie or an energy healer of some kind, or they're a professional healer of some kind, or perhaps a psychic or a medium or a tarot or an astrologer of some kind, or a remote healer of some kind. So if you find yourself in a secondary conversation over here on the side in the chat with somebody, please make the most of it, okay? There's a lot of love here, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Lena. All right, precious. Gosh, I can't remember what your notes said. I'm going to see if I can scroll. All right, I want to make some room here. Getting a bit clustered. All right, moving on, folks. We're going on to the personal readings now. We've got 4 readings tonight. Cheers, everybody. That's my ephemeris. Okay. All right. I'm just going to see if I can scroll back through the chat and find if there was any mess. Precious, I hope you're here. It's time for your reading. If you... Let me just scroll way up to the top here. Give me a second. Okay, there's Precious. Okay. I don't see any notes from you, Precious. So if you want, I'll give you a blind reading. I understand you're deep in it with all the cold weather and everything. And you're back in Canada right now. So let's have a look over here. Let's have a look. Give me a second. Give me a second. I got to figure out where... yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm catching up with things. All right, Precious. So I'm very happy to do a blind reading, but if you know how I do the reading, it's just what kind of messages do we have for precious moments here tonight regarding the subject of ... If you have one word, maybe it's family or money or love or health or locations or whatever it is. If you can put it in one word and you want to put that on the screen, help yourself. But otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead with a blind reading if you don't stop me. Okay? All right, let's have a look here. Let's do it again. Let's bless it. Bless these cards. Bless every single card in the deck. Bless the cameras and the lights and the microphones. Bless all the multi-layers of technology and softwares that I have to use to do the broadcast. Bless the internet and the platforms and all the good things, light bulbs, heaters, humidifiers, safety mechanisms that allow this show to happen. Like I'm in a secure studio environment here. I'm in a safe place. I intend to keep it that way. And hopefully for the same for you. Okay, precious? Let's have a look here. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at the weather again. As you know, I love to blame the planets for everything, so I'm going to interpret this through the lens of the planets right now. So we've got the Eight of Wands here. So my feeling is with the Eight of Wands in your situation here is that there's a lot of pent-up energy inside of you that is not just itching to be released, but it has to be, okay? It has to be dealt with. Okay, I see words there, home and finance. Okay, makes total sense. Obviously, you're concerned about the home and finance because burst up, broken pipes in subarctic conditions. That's an expensive repair. It's very, very tricky to fix that stuff. I don't know if you have a lot of snow, but if you have a lot of ice and the ice is deep and the ground is frozen down to a few feet, it's very difficult to do those repairs. You have to get back all the way to the pipe where the water is still wet. So, the Eight of Wands here, to me it's an indication that there's nothing for you to fear at all. In fact, what's happening is that there's an abundance of energy available to you in order to survive. If you're living where you are, in that part of Canada where it's so cold, your survival instincts are automatically being triggered into hyperdrive right now. If I recall, you've got a couple of kids, and so as a mom, the survival instinct is very powerful and has to be activated. And you're obviously a survivor already, but we got to take it to the next level. So if you want to treat the Eight of Wands here as a message, like, okay, let's go over here with Mars and Sagittarius and so on. Sun and Capricorn. Let's look at this positively in such a way that you take full advantage of anything and everything that's good and put it to work for you. The things that are active you can tap into right now is the energy of Eris, okay? There's a lot of support with Eris right now from Mars and Sagittarius. And Eris is the wounded female soul warrior type energy. Eris is the energy of women who stand up and do whatever has to be done, including war, fighting, defense, whatever it takes, survival. Combat. Literally, you are heavily supported in going to combat, going to war with the enemies of your life right now, which is mostly like just nature and the global financial system. You will prevail, okay, precious? Number one, because you have to. And you have the passion, desire, and skills and ability to do so, and you are supported. Okay? You've got the Sun, Venus, and Pluto all tight up there in Capricorn in harmony with the Neptune energy. So in other words, no matter how bad things are with all the evil toxins of the global elite and the tyranny of global financial poison across Earth, you will prevail if you do things in a very systematic, business-like way. In other words, you look at your life, home and finances, look at it very realistically. How much debt are you carrying, for example? What are your daily, weekly, monthly overheads, for example? What is the cost of repairs for the burst pipes, for example? Is it something where you're going to have to get a loan? Is it something where you can do it out of pocket? Is it something where you might have to get help from friends and family to help cut the costs? Do you have enough passion and drive and courage and the will to live to be able to courageously knock on doors of friends and family who may also be suffering with negative 50 centigrade? You might have something that you can offer to them. They might have something that they can offer to you in order to survive. Like if your house is completely uninhabitable because everything's frozen so hard, you might have to shack up somewhere else. But in doing so, you might be able to bring something there. That's what I was talking about with the community thing earlier in the group reading. Maybe your house is habitable and you can get the pipes fixed, but it might take, you might have to extend your generosity and love to someone else in another way. Like maybe you have to babysit for somebody. Maybe there's a person or a guy or somebody you know who's good with tools or whatever it is. Maybe you can work something like that where your motivation and your drive and your ability to survive is hyperactivated right now. So you don't just sit there and look at it and go like, oh my God, this is going to cost a fortune to fix it. My life is ruined. No. Okay? Oh, you're a Sag. Well, there you go. Yay. All right, let's have a look. What's the situation itself? Okay. Well, with the Judgment card here, to me, it's a loud message that you're the only one who can save yourself. You have to make it your business to save yourself, redeem yourself, and liberate yourself from the shackles of literally environmental imprisonment. That degree of cold, that degree of ice, it literally puts you like in a mental, psychological, biological, physiological prison. It's going outside. I've been in that kind of temperature once in my life. It was terrifying for me. I don't know if I could do it every year. But with the Judgment energy here, to me it's an indication that you're going to do whatever you have to do to liberate yourself from the crushing, let's say, limitations of the weather. In other words, if you know that you need to go shopping or get groceries or get a propane tank or get some charcoal or some wood or something, you're not going to live in fear. You're going to think, okay, I have to get from here to B. Do you have a car? Is the battery working? Is the engine going to even start? Are there ways around that? Do you know somebody? Are your cell phones still working? Is all that stuff still working in your life, in your world? Because you're the one who's going to have to take charge and be the boss of that. You're going to have to be the one who's going to be like in the front lines of like saying things like, hey kids, you might not like this, but we got to do that, and that. Okay? So we're going to put on gloves and scarves or whatever, and we're going to go here and we're going to do this. Anything and everything, what you've got to do to liberate yourself from the shackles of this crippling cold and the global financial system. Okay? This is a huge, huge wake-up call. Luckily, like you said right there, you're a Sag. Mars is in Sagittarius right now, so this is doubly amplifying your ability to activate the will to live. You are not dead at all by any means, just the opposite. Okay? Yes, it might be scary. You might really have to be like in serious survivor prepper mode. Like, do you have a little propane miniature cooker in the house? Do you have electricity? Do you have food? It's like survival food, like cans of soup, cans of sardines, things like that you can literally just open the top and eat with a spoon. Do you have a way to generate heat inside the house? Whatever you got to do to liberate yourself from the shackles, okay? Let's see. What is the real problem here? Okay, to me it looks like the real problem is that the problems are so severe that you could end up, let's say, consumed by the problems to the point of delusion. It's almost like, you know what happens where people are taken to the point of ultimate survival where they don't know if they're going to live or not. They don't know if they're going to die or not. People start hallucinating. The reason I'm saying this, Precious, is I'm not trying to do this to scare you, okay? I've been near death quite a few times in my life where I've actually kind of gone. I've been left for dead. I've been hoisted away in gurneys and ended up in hospitals and then coming around and things like that. And it's mostly from horrific vehicle accidents or workplace accidents or horrific weird diseases that take you to death. And when you are at the, let's say, at the crossroads, when you're at the threshold of death, I guess it's different for different situations. Like if you're in frontline combat and you get shot and you die immediately, it's very instantaneous. But it's very interesting what happens near death. Things can like compress and slow down, and your soul starts to dissociate from the body. So in other words, it's like, even though there might be biological pain, I don't want to confuse you too much here, but you can get to these points when you're at the threshold of death. Again, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to be realistic to help. Where people lose it. They start hallucinating. They start, when the people get super, ultra, hyper cold hypothermia, they're kind of like, and they don't know that they are that close to death, okay? They don't know that because their consciousness is already dissociating. The soul is already starting to look for an exit from the physical body. And people can get so frightened that they start to hallucinate. They become hysterical, okay? I'm not saying that's what's happening for you, but it might be a deep fear inside of you because your situation might be so dire with the weather and the climate and the home and all the financial pressures that it might take you to the verge of like insanity. Like, oh my God, we are going to die. Like, what are we going to do? And you just completely lose it, going insane, okay? But that's just a fear. That's not your reality. That's just a fear. Like deep down inside of you, there's this part of you which is like, oh my God, am I going to come completely unglued? Well, you're not, because you can't. You're not allowed to. Not with the other two cards. You're not allowed to. You have to turn into Eris. You have to turn into the warrior woman who is going to literally just rip apart anything and everything that has the potential to destroy you or undermine your home and your family, your kids, your finances. You're going to do whatever you have to do, okay? And you're going to do it very, very judiciously, very cautiously, very consciously, okay? All right, that's just me ranting about that part, okay? Let's go to the next one. So how are we going to deal with this? Let's have a look. Okay, you might want to pray. You might want to pray for divine guidance. You might want to ask your invisible friends to send you messages. Literally, guide me, protect me. Tune into your antennae, okay? Allow yourself, okay, as a Sagittarius woman, allow yourself to tune into the super ultra high vibration frequencies that are out there that you would call ESP, extrasensory perception. Remember, Precious, in your own way, you are HSP. You are a high sensory perception being, okay? So it's time to activate that part of yourself, like really, really tune in to like the super high frequencies of divine messages, messages from your invisible friends. Literally, give yourself permission to maybe, if you have to, put yourself in a private room somewhere and close the door just for a few moments and ask for divine guidance. Please guide me, please protect me. My dear invisible friends, my guardian angels, my protectors from the great beyond, send me clues, send me synchronistic guidance. What do I do? Who do I call up? What do I say? How do I say it? Where do I go? Direct me. Give me guidance. Send me those messages now. I am deeply trusting in divine guidance. And you do that by invocation. You make that happen. It's like, it's not old days actually, it's present day. A lot of hardcore preppers have what's called a shortwave wind-up crank radio. Because even though almost everybody in the world lives on smartphones and TVs and whatever, and 5G and 4G and 3G, there's a whole other world of radio, and it's called shortwave radio, and it goes all over the world. People still do it. And they have shortwave radios. You can still get them. You can go to Amazon and you can get a shortwave radio and you can wind it up. You don't need any batteries or anything, and you can tune it in and you can listen to people from all over the world who may have messages and information for you, okay, that you need to hear. Now, I'm not saying you can transmit the messages, but there are people who are shortwave radio enthusiasts, and they send out really important news. It's also used by emergency broadcast systems because shortwave crank radios, literally, you can send a message from Hong Kong to London, sort of like the way a smartphone does. But what happens if your electricity goes out? Having one of those little hand crank radios is a good idea, for example. So all I'm suggesting here with the Two of Swords is set up really good lines of communication between yourself and your immediate loved ones in your immediate environment for survival purposes. Like, what are you going to do if you all have to hunker in together and share finances, shared resources? How are you going to communicate that stuff? You can't go around in a state of hysteria like, give me all your canned soup. If you don't, I'm going to knock you. You don't do that. You coordinate everything in a very Aquarian community organization manner, just like a good responsible prepper would do. Look at your resources, okay? Sources of heat, electricity, food. Can you start your battery? All those things. You got to check everything, okay? All right. Thank you, precious. You're going to be okay, but it's going to take work, and I'm hoping that this reading activates you to take charge, get in there, and do what has to be done, okay? You are not a victim. You're not allowed to be a victim, okay? I don't know how to read that language. I'm sorry. It says vor red. I don't know how to read it. I think you were here last week. I'm sorry. I wish I could speak other languages, but I can't. Gregory, you're up next. So, do you want me to do a blind reading, Mr. Ross? Or if you've got a theme, maybe a one-word theme, what are the messages that are coming to me tonight, Gregory Ross, regarding the subject of ... Or if you want, I'll just do completely blind. It's up to you. I'll give a few moments here on the screen while we wait, because there's a delay in the chat. I think it's about 40 seconds or something, so I'm going to wait for a while. I'm going to shuffle up in the meantime, okay, Mr. Ross? I hope you're doing okay. Are you in Santa Fe right now? Are you in Maine? Are you in Mississippi? Big issue. Uh-oh, here we go. All right, let's have a look. Well, people don't get a reading unless there's an issue. And the issue for some people is just like, well, what do I need to know? But if you've got regarding showing my evidence to Mr. Marshall, okay, I don't have to know any of these people, but it says regarding showing my evidence to Mr. Marshall. Okay, let's see what the cards have to say for you. Okay, let me keep shuffling for a while. All right, let's have a look here. Excuse me, I'm dropping cards. I'm still a little bit sloppy in my work right now. I apologize, Gregory. I'm trying to do the best readings that I can. All right, here we go. Let's settle in. Gregory Ross. Oh, it's a John Grisham type of deal, for real. Oh, John Grisham, the lawyer, writer. Oh, heavy duty. Yeah, I get it. Wow. John Grisham, I think he's from Oxford, Mississippi, isn't he? All right, let's have a look in this John Grisham type deal. So let me just connect with Mr. Ross here. Some of you may be aware, Mr. Ross is a very gifted man of the law. And when you're that gifted, of course, you attract the greater and greater challenges. So he's dealing with a John Grisham type of deal. I don't know a lot about John Grisham, but I saw some of his movies years ago. He's a writer, but his books were turned into movies. They're these like really tough lawyer movies. I forgot some of the names. If you can remember some of the titles, Gregory, for some of the John Grisham stories in movies, please type them in. Maybe people remember. But it's about really, really tough legal matters where the characters are taken to the very limits of the law. What is lawful, what is not lawful, what is real, what is not real, what is true, what is not true, and how are we going to uphold the law against all odds, okay? All right, let's have a look here. Alrighty, now, Ivona, there you are. Cheapers. All right, cards are well. You know what? I'm just going to do a last tiny little minute shuffle here. Give me a second, okay? I just want to keep in the zone. Very, very clearly in the zone. Okay, what messages do we have for here tonight for Gregory regarding this big issue, okay? It's regarding handing over evidence to Mr. Marshall. All right, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Let's have a look at the external influences. Okay, Knight of Pentacles. Okay, my feeling here with the Knight of Pentacles, it's about taking charge of the situation in very traditional, noble terms, moving one step at a time. If you think of the energy of the noble farmer, farmers in general live extreme high-risk lifestyles. They are constantly facing almost unimaginable risk and change in their environment, finances, crops, weather, everything. And they have to survive year after year after year. Some farms don't make it. But if you are very diligent and you are constantly keeping a very close eye on the realities of your situation, okay, so in other words, what I'm saying is take full advantage of all this earth energy right now with the water energy. Okay? Capricorn, 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 Taurus. Soon, we're going to have the moon in Taurus too. Now, in a very broad sense, all that earth energy here is very harmonious, okay? It doesn't show much on this chart, but loosely, okay, let's put it, let me see if I can show this to you in another way. What I'm trying to say, Gregory, is that please take advantage of this and this energy right now in such a way that this is very stabilizing and grounding for everybody, so long as you're aware that it's there, and then you can make use of that. And that energy is in very, very comfortable support from Pisces energy of Jupiter and Neptune. Even though on its own we have problems here, but when you take this energy here, this energy here, this energy here, it's very conducive to doing things in slow, practical, deeply inspired, loving ways where, like, it's impossible for you to be destabilized, okay? So, remember, these are external influences. The external influences here, to me, look very supportive towards you to get done what you have to do that you know is right and just according to the law, and being the good lawman, John Grisham style, where you are the winner, okay? Very difficult, challenging circumstances. But my feeling is that you've got the energy of the heavens at your back, no matter what. However, it means operating and moving in extremely calculated, meticulous ways, knowing that it's a high-risk situation, operating in the way that a noble farmer would operate. In other words, doing exactly what has to be done in order to prevail in extremely tough conditions, because a lot of the time farming is a war. How to prosper out of, earth, air, fire, and water. All of that combined. What's the situation itself? Okay, more pentacles here. So my feeling is it's almost to your advantage. Well, no, it's not almost. It is to your advantage to go forward in the way that we described here. Take full advantage of this energy field that is there for you. It's for everybody, but not everyone is necessarily going to be tuned into it. You, by having a reading here with Terrible Illumination, can be made aware or be aware or reaffirmed that you're okay and that you're going to be okay, but it does require being very patient and very meticulous about doing what has to be done. It's also on the understanding that you might be in very deep water and you might be taken to the maximum limits of your legal skills and abilities and credentials, in which case you might feel as though you are underqualified or underpowered or underfunded or just not capable enough about doing what has to be done. But that's not true. I believe with the Page of Pentacles here, it's almost like a blessing where you're not relying 100% on the law itself. What you're going to be leaning on is facts, raw, material, three-dimensional, measurable facts, information, things that are tangible, things that are real. So you were worried about presenting evidence to this court, to this Mr. Marshall. I think, let me just check in the chat. It's I have to scroll back here. Hold on. Okay. What is it? Where were your notes? Ganja. Showing evidence to Mr. Marshall. Okay, showing evidence to Mr. Marshall. To me, it looks like the situation about showing evidence to Mr. Marshall is literally you don't have to declare it in a court or openly, but you would go forward on the understanding that the reality is you do not have all the tools, skills, resources, materials, information, knowledge, and opportunities on your side right now. But you have to go forward anyway with what you've got in a very pure kind of simplistic way. In other words, I'm just kind of acting now, okay? Some of you may know that I spent 20 years in Los Angeles and Hollywood and movies and TV, and yes, I did a little bit of acting. So, I'm pretending I'm acting like Gregory Ross in the court. This is Gregory Ross this is the look of Gregory Ross in fierce warrior, man of the law mode. It looks like this. Okay? You can't mess with me. I am a man of the law. I just work with facts and information. I'm presenting what I have. This is it. It stands on its own. And now I don't want to talk around it too much, but deep inside, you might be thinking, oh my God, my evidence is flawed. My evidence is incriminating. My evidence could backfire. My evidence may not be plausible. My evidence may be flimsy. My evidence may not match the definition of evidence as needed for me to prevail in this situation with Mr. Marshall. But you go forward anyway. You go forward in a very trusting, innocent way on this, let's say, understanding that the universe has got your back. So really, your job is to literally just show up and do what you got to do. Present it. The fewer the words, in other words, like less is more. Here is the evidence. You see what I'm getting at? Here is the evidence. And you let the evidence speak for itself. And if they have questions about it, then they can put them to you. And then you can take your time. You know what? That's a very good question. I need some time to respond. I'd like to ask for an adjournment. And then what can they do? Like, you're a lawyer. You're practicing law. Okay? So, do you see the way the cards are talking there? I hope that makes sense. Now, let me get back to the reading. What's the problem with all of this? Where's the quicksand? Where are the potholes? Where is the landmines in the landmine field? All right, with temperance here, it makes me feel that there's this deep fear that if you do not prevail in your situation, then there could be a lot of suffering for someone or something or some people or whatever in a way that is unjust, and that all of your powers to be basically a healer, a divine soul healer, operating in the context of a lawman in a court of law in this situation. To me, it feels like there's this deep fear, like, what happens if I fail? It's almost like it's inconceivable, because it feels like there's quite a lot at stake here, and it involves, let's say you do everything right, and somehow everything works out right in the face of almost insurmountable odds. Then there's a chance that this energy would dissolve and it turns into something very healing. In other words, the outcome of a case or situation could be highly unpredictable, and then you go through it methodically, step by step, and it ends up as a healing thing. It's for you, okay? What's that? What? So it's who is in court? It's for you. Okay, presenting your evidence for Mr. Marshall for you. So there might be a deep fear here that you could end up seriously wounded if things don't work out. On the other hand, it feels to me like you don't have a choice except to do what has to be done in terms of presenting evidence. When I first pulled the card here, I felt this strong energy of like, oh my God, you do this behind your back. You know what? You cross your fingers and you put it behind your back. You're absolutely terrified that the situation may fall apart, and all the healing power of love that you naturally carry with you, that you naturally radiate in your life, in your world, in your practice as a lawman, as a person of the law, even when the situation is about you. Yes, there's potential for a total loss, but you still have to go forward anyway, in your innocence, with your best of intentions. But yeah, this might be very scary for you. All right, let's have a look here. How do we go forward? Okay, so with the Three of Wands here, it makes me feel as though you're charting uncharted territory. You're heading into uncharted territory where it's like oh, look at the notes. They're calling it. Well, thanks, Robin. Listen, Plan B might be moving to another state. Okay, changing my name. Haha, Greg, you need witness protection. Oh, God, a Plan B. I see that. Run! Run! So anyway, with the Three of Wands here, the way to go forward is understand that, in essence, no matter how scary it might be, you are charting out a new journey in life, a new chapter in life, which is going to have, looks to me like new locations, new destiny, new surroundings, a new kind of like building a new karma for yourself. That new moon, not a lot of people talked about it, but to me it was a very powerful new moon, and it was about, to me it felt like resetting the compass of your life. And last week there were lots of, I think, of Six of Swords cards and things like that, okay? So, going forward, the way to handle your situation is knowing that you're going to do what you have to do, knowing that you're innocent, knowing that you really don't have all of the skills or qualifications necessary to guarantee a perfect outcome. In fact, you might be absolutely terrified that you could be hurt in the process in some way, perhaps lose some reputation or lose a case or something like that. But you go forward anyway in the manner that I described here, because you don't have any options. And then you understand, like, what's really happening is that you're charting a new course in life, resetting your compass, and it's for the good. It's ultimately for a better life down the road. But you're not there yet. You're in the process of recalibrating your life, perhaps through this court, through this situation, through presenting evidence to Mr. Marshall. In that's part of the process of recalibrating your life, so that it's like you're creating a new destiny for yourself as you, let's say, extract yourself from an untenable situation. I hope that makes sense for you, Gregory, and you get something out of that. Yeah. To me, this is good news. The way forward is to understand that I'm calibrating this from the Capricorn new moon, and this really might make a lot more sense when it comes to the full moon, when the moon is in Cancer around 27, 28 degrees, opposing Pluto. Very interesting. I pull a clarifier. Yeah, do that for yourself. It's not fair to everyone else if I do that here. But I'm just going to have a look. Give me a second. Okay. I'm kind of doing it off to the side, Gregory. But it is the Hanged Man. And what it's telling me is that the clarifier is that you might not get an immediate response or outcome in your situation right now, and you could be left in a state of suspended animation. In other words, if you go back to this, in the courts where I was acting out that theme, like, I have some evidence for you, Mr. Marshall, and then you don't say anything. You let the evidence speak for itself. And that might be very uncomfortable or weird or awkward in a court setting. In other words, the other people, the Mr. Marshall, for example, they might be expecting you to be flamboyant or very aggressive or very assertive in presenting your evidence so that you can prevail, in such a way that works for you. But when you come in and like, here's the evidence. Then you're basically putting everything on the court, on Mr. Marshall, and you're letting the evidence speak for itself. So you're forcing them to examine the evidence so they don't have to deal with you as an aggressive or assertive or a frightened or a confused lawyer. They don't have a chance to take advantage of any weakness that you might have. The only options that they have when you simply present the evidence are that they have to examine the evidence and then they have to come up with their questions or their perspective or their response. And that gives you time. But that waiting period between your moment of silence and their response could make you feel very disoriented, like the Hanged Man, where you might feel as though you don't have anything to hold on to. But that's just something that you deal with. Just like a farmer sits there watching the weather thinking, oh my God, are my crops going to be destroyed? And they watch and they observe and they realize, nope, we're fine. We're good. Okay? All right. Let me go back here. Gregory has something that says a hung court would be great. Okay. Great. Oh, that's fantastic. A hung court would be great. I'm coming to the rescue of a light worker lawyer being canceled. Depends on what kind of whistleblowing you're talking about. Okay, well, I'm not going to add any more to the reading. I'm just going to give you So I got the Hanged Man there to clarify. So held in suspended animation. If it's a hung court and you say that's good for you, then awesome. Okay? All right. So I'm optimistic for you, but it might be a very unusual strategy for you to move forward. You might be used to behaving in certain ways in a court setting as the lawman. However, the thing that I'm getting from here is that you literally do nothing except present the evidence as it is. Nothing more, nothing less. And then the court and Mr. Marshall and everyone else, then they are forced to come up with a response. And if the evidence speaks in such a way that the court and Mr. Marshall realize through facts and information that they are in a difficult or awkward or in a state of checkmate and they can't impose their will on top of a situation, then they might scuttle themselves rather than go to war. In other words, it might, like you said, it might be advantageous to have a hung court. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Gregory. Of course, all the best. Robin, what are your blessings? Let's have a look here. Well, that's another way of asking, like, how can I tune into the attitude of gratitude when I realize that I might have slipped? I might have forgot about the attitude of gratitude. Well, I'm glad you understand that. I can see your notes there in the chat, Gregor. I hope you understand that. Yes, it may be unusual. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. I've been in courtrooms and courthouses in front of judges for some pretty serious things. But the thing that I mentioned there seems to me highly unusual. On the other hand, it's just another strategy. So much happens in a courtroom regarding like communications and subliminal communications that carry the energy of fear or confusion or deliberate betrayal or diversion. And you can't afford for any of that. So the best thing is to let the facts do the talking. You don't have to even open your mouth. All right, Robin. I got to keep my hands working. Robin, you're up. I'm pretty sure you're here. I'm pretty sure I saw you in the chat just moments ago. You know me. I'm swimming in gratefulness. Yay. I guess we're asking for details. Cards are nicely shuffled. Let's go forward. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Now, you know this is my situational spread. It's essentially a diagnostic tool. It can cover anything, anywhere, anytime, anyhow. And I want to actually, give me a second, Robin. I want to do something. I want to charge way back up here. Robin, blessings. Okay, it's just blessings question mark. That's what I see here. Okay. Messages do we have for Robin regarding her blessings? Okay. Again, I'm going to look at the external influences here. Ace of Cups. What a beautiful card, huh? Just beautiful for a situation like this. Luckily, Robin, you just kind of verified kind of what you need to know and who you need to be, where and why and how. I am swimming in gratefulness. You are using the mighty power of I am. Look at your thing you wrote in the chat. I am swimming in gratefulness. There you go. That is a declaration of your truth. You are swimming in gratefulness. And this is being verified. Okay? You're surrounded by love. You're surrounded by the healing power of love. You're surrounded by the opportunity to grab that at any moment, any time that you need. It's right there. It's eternally present for you. Okay? It's like the gift that keeps on giving. The more loving you are, the more loving you can be. Be loving, be loved. And then it's literally understanding like, oh, my life isn't really about me anymore. It's all about something above and beyond me. It's all about, hey Robin, how are you doing today? I'm the Ace of Cups. I'm here at the Tarot Lumination reading just for you. And today's message is to understand that you don't even have to worry about you being you. All you have to do is continuously, deliberately tune into the healing power of love and understand that you are an instrument of the healing power of love. Look at me. Don't I look like some kind of magic wand thing? Like some kind of thing that you can point at people and share. And it's like, let me show you what I'm talking about, okay, Robin? This is going to sound really weird, but you already know. And you live by example. I'm talking while I'm moving around. Living by example, that to be an instrument of the healing power of love is a very sublime and selfless act. And you're kind of one of those people already. And it works better and better the more and more you are in tune with the attitude of gratitude. And the healing power of love, being an instrument of the healing power of love, looks very much like this. You're power packed, okay? And literally, you direct the energy. You are a transceiver. You are transmitting and receiving love. You are transmitting the healing power of love over here. You are receiving the healing power of love over here. So it's up to you to configure yourself on a daily basis. How can I best be an instrument of the healing power of love? I know I'm that already, but it's like every day I have to recalibrate myself and tune in for my day's work. My day's work is to be loving. That's it. Very, very simple. And in that sense, I am literally an instrument of the healing power of love. That's it. Look. Do you see that? And then your job becomes very simple. Like, where am I going to focus my energy? Energy flows where attention goes. And that beam is a beam of love. So I think the Ace of Cups here is just a reminder that more than Robin's Realms readings, you are actually Robin's Realms reading the instrument of the healing power of love. There you go. And that is a gift, that is a blessing, that is a divine gift to humanity. It may not be fun all the time. Sometimes it requires being highly selfless and highly sacrificial. But you do it anyway, because it's above and beyond three-dimensional life. What's the situation itself? Yay! In a way, it's very simple. Love breeds love. When you are loving, you are loved. It coalesces around you. It's like a gravitational force field. So your situation is that, Robin, you're already blessed. You already know that you're blessed. The reading is just a reminder that you are blessed, but it needed definition. The blessing is really that you are already an instrument of the healing power of love. And that the second reminder is that, oh, I get it. Now I know what you're talking about, TL. I remember now, yeah. Love breeds love. Love is as love does. It's literally like an amplifier. And so the more and more you tune in to being your natural self as an instrument of the healing power of love, your capacity grows. It becomes more and more and more and more and more and more. You attract more in this way as the receiver, and then you have more capacity to project as the transmitter. And it's happening simultaneously. That's why you are an instrument. You don't own it. You're an instrument. The energy comes into you and it comes out here. And your job as a three-dimensional participant in human life is to take that energy and be loving. And that energy flows where attention goes. So you have to be aware of where you are focusing your energy. Are you diluting your energy and giving it away and losing it and dispersing it and wasting it? Are you focusing it in very, very specific ways where it's needed at that very moment in time? The healing power of now, so that at every moment of your day, you are functioning as an instrument of the healing power of love. Even though you might be washing dishes or driving to the grocery store or having to do some paperwork or having to do a very uncomfortable chore, like teaching a wayward child or taking care of a sick family member. Okay. Either way, love breeds love. It's just a question of tuning into like a perpetual motion machine, like a perpetual self-fulfilling instrument here. Okay, what's the challenges here? Okay, so with the ups and downs of life, 3D life, there could be very, very frightening, bleak, scary moments where you just accidentally forget that you are an instrument of the healing power of love. And when things go wrong for you in your life, you might feel as though that you are the opposite of blessed. You might feel that you are cursed, condemned, and unjustly abused and manipulated and exploited, and it feels extremely painful. But you have to remember, with the Wheel of Fortune, it comes right back again, and you kind of get back to being reoriented, like, oh, whew, thank you, TL. I thank you for the reminder. It's not about me. My life isn't about me. Yes, it is about you as a person, but it's really about you as the instrument. There you go. You're already an instrument of the healing power of love, but sometimes you forget. The most likely times that you are to forget are when you're in periods of deepest pain and suffering and, let's say, suffocation in the three-dimensional aspects of life. Things like money, shelter, weather, companionship, health, all the things that we feel in a three-dimensional plane. When you're on the down cycle, when you are on a down cycle, Robin, it must be extremely painful. But that's not the end of the world. All right, how are you going to deal with this? Because it's almost like the real challenges here are dealing with the cycles, the ups and downs. Because in your case, it feels like a kind of very extreme situation. How do you deal with this? Okay. To me, it feels like the best thing to do is stay in very, very close contact with your people, your community, your tribe, your loved ones. The people who love you for who you are, people like us here at Terra Lumination. We understand you and accept you and how you are, who you are. In other words, you are a powerful instrument of the healing power of love. Do you see what the analogy I'm trying to create here? This is... Let me be really precise. You see that flashlight I was just showing you? If you look at it this way, this is the receiving end of the flashlight. This is the transmission process, and this would be the lens of focus of energy. So this is like a lightsaber. The energy comes in here, and it's projected out here. And you are part of a tribe, okay, Robin? You're one of us. We're like you. Everyone here, to some extent, is already committed, consciously or unwittingly, to being an instrument of the healing power of love. You do it consciously. You make that as part of your day job. And sometimes there are moments where we forget. Sometimes there are moments where you forget, and you could feel extremely cursed and living in a lot of pain. So the way to get around that is to remember, you're not alone. We all suffer in the same way. We understand you. So in other words, you could share your story like, oh my God, you can't believe what awful thing happened to me the other day. And someone else could sympathize with you and say oh, you poor thing, Robin. Come and have a cup of tea with me. Let's talk about it. Tell me what happened. How bad? Oh, you poor thing. And have some empathy and compassion and sharing with your tribe and your people, so you don't have to live a life where you feel that, oh my God, I am literally the sole and only instrument of the healing power of love on planet Earth. Okay? See the analogy I'm trying to do here compared to here? I hope that makes sense. I mean, I'm really stretching the tarot. But do you see the similarities? Okay? Let me do it a little bit more like this. You see? See that? Anyway, so, when you're down, when you've lost track, when you feel like there are no blessings and you're on a real down cycle, make it your business to check in with your tribe. Call somebody up on a phone, check in online, have a Zoom meeting with somebody, share the load with another person who is also an active instrument of the healing power of love, just like you. I am absolutely certain there are others in your world who would understand what we're talking about. It's so important to share your energy, your stories with them so that you're not alone. Okay? There are others like you, Robin, and they have their ups and downs just like you. And you're a human being, okay? You're okay. You're going to be okay. You just needed a reminder that in your life, in your world, there are things that are going on that are above and beyond you and the ego of you. It's purely about being an instrument of the healing power of love. And that's your day job. It just gets pretty rough sometimes, that's all. But you're not alone. You're going to be okay. It's a shared journey. We got your back. No matter how bad things are, you can share your stories with us. And we will comfort you. Okay? ACAT, you're up next. Wow, okay, let's have a look. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you, Robin. You know, I do these readings for real. This isn't just tarotainment, you know. Okay, here we go. ECAT. What messages do we have for ECAT for this week coming up? All right, it is Sunday night here in Las Vegas. The sun is down. It is very dark and chilly outside, as you can see. Right, okay, there's the strip. All right, that's where all the gamblers and the casinos are. In fact, there's gambling casinos all over the whole city. I've been living here a year now. It's a very strange place to me, but it is my home now. Okay? So, I am kind of I'm actually not on the map. No, I'm not. I guess I am. I'm in this area here. Okay? Up there is huge deserts. Out there, I'm not going to go into a geography lesson. Anyway, this is Las Vegas. This is where we're transmitting tonight across the world, to Australia, to New Zealand, to Argentina, to the United States, to Canada. Woohoo! I love it. ACAT, can you remind everyone else where you are again, please? What's this? Porno bots in the chat? Attack, attack, attack! Okay. Alright, so ACAT. What's going on? What kind of messages do we have for ACAT for the week up ahead? Let's have a look. What do we have? What's going on here? I'm just still shuffling. I need to shuffle a little bit more, okay, ACAT? Florida. I knew it. I knew it. I might not have said it, but I knew it. We'll have to remember that for next time, okay? Thank you, ACAT. I've been to Florida a few times. Janet Webster, I see your wicked sense of humor. Everybody there in the chat, you need to read the latest posting from Janet Webster. I don't want to explain it too much more. Anyway, I understand you. I do believe I understand you, Janet Webster. Sarah Lake Mitchell. Well, it's a fine time to show up. We're pretty much at the end of the show. Okay. So there we are. Here is the world. This is our planet. This is where we all live. Terra Lumination is over here, sunny Las Vegas. And ECAT is over here in Florida. There we go. Oh, yeah. Did we say that earlier? LINA from Argentina is here. We got Queen of Water. We got Karen Clark. Alrighty. So let's get back to work here. ECAT. So what's going on with you for the week up ahead? I'm not really a fortune teller, okay? ECAT, all I can do is, let's say, be an instrument of the healing power of love. That's really all I'm doing here. I'm an instrument. I'm like a interpreter. You know, energy comes in. I have to do the reading and a story comes out. There we go. Wow, what a fun story, Janet Webster. I want to get this well shuffled. Well shuffled. All right, here we go. All right, ECAT. Thank you for your patience. You've been here quite a while. Now, finally, you're going to get your reading. Let's have a look here. So what messages do we have regarding the week ahead for ECAT? Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Okay, and what are the external influences here? Of course, I love to blame it on the planets. We've got the Eight of Cups. So my feeling is that we're heading towards the full moon, okay? The full moon is actually, what's today? The 9th. We're talking about a week from now. It's actually not next Sunday, but next Monday. So you'll probably feel the energy before then. By the time we get to that full moon, it's going to be a completely different energy field. The moon will be in Cancer. It's going to be a very strong new moon because, okay, let's do it this way. Here we go. Look at this. Okay, so over this week, during this week, okay, today, right now, tonight, the moon is in Aries right here, conjunct Eris. So you might be feeling like a lot of girl power, okay? You might be feeling if there's not a lot of girl power in you, maybe you're waking up to the fact that you need to activate the girl power in you, okay? ECAT, I believe you are female. Is that correct? Did I make an assumption there that I had no right to do? Anyway, so the moon is in Aries. You might feel a little bit assertive or a little bit slightly more hyperactive or slightly more active than you would ordinarily be. But you also might feel energized and courageous and almost like getting a kick up the derriere, that it's time for you to take action and really take hold of the reins of your life and really, you know, I'd say grab life for the next week. Make the most of it because it is going to accelerate. It is going to come to a crescendo. The moon is going to go through Taurus, okay? And it's going to conjoin with Uranus. So you might get some jolts regarding your personal finances, or you might learn or start to understand things about global finances which terrify you and give you cold sweats. That would be understandable. And then the question is, what are you going to do about it? That's another conversation. I'm really interested in talking about cryptocurrencies to people, in case anyone's interested, because I have learned quite a bit. I'm not an expert by any means, but anyway, and I'm not a financial advisor. But anyway, then the moon is going to traverse Gemini. And when it does that, it's going to cross over the cusp here, 0 degrees, because the nodal axis is changing. So this could feel like a period of turbulence, like emotional turbulence at this time. Just the same thing like when a jet plane approaches the speed of sound and then reaches the speed of sound, and it creates a boom, a sonic boom, and comes out the other side and goes faster. It could also be the energy of destabilization and turbulence, like what happens when you go across a weather zone. For example, we all know, like if you watch weather maps, like this is a very, very active weather zone frequently in America. Like if you're in an airplane and you cross from here to here and you go through a huge weather front, you can experience massive turbulence at the interface of the cold with the hot, or the dry with the wet, and you feel it as turbulence. And you might feel that emotionally as we go over the cusp here, because this is the 0 degree angle. So there's a lot of instability. And we're going to be shuffling. It's not happening right now, but soon we're going to shuffle into the Scorpio-Taurus mood, nodal axis. And then by the end of next week, you're going to be a few days with the moon in Cancer. So you might feel very sensitive and sensitized. And you might be wondering, why do I feel so sensitive and fragile in my home life, or wherever this lies in my chart, wherever that is? You might feel very, let's say, fragile and sensitive at this point because of these extremely powerful energies here that are pulling against this part of you. Now, I'm not saying you have to have any Capricorn or Cancer or Gemini or Taurus in your chart or anything. I'm just talking about the week ahead. The week ahead starts now, and the full moon is on next Monday. So that's about a week. But as you get closer to this period, as you get closer to the end of next week, you're going to start to get a much more vivid, clear impression of what the full moon is going to feel like for you. So you might experience a bumpy period, towards the middle or towards heading towards the weekend, next weekend. My feeling is that you might feel financially fragile early next week, but you might also feel highly motivated to do something about that. Okay? So that you're not a victim. So my feeling is that there's this part of you which is a very soft, tender soul, okay? Very, very tender, very loving, very caring human being, and all you want is the best for yourself and everyone. And you go forward in life. The moon is very prominent here. I don't know if you have the moon prominent in your chart, but this is a very strong lunar energy here. It makes me feel as though you're moving very, very cautiously and unwillingly towards the energy of this full moon. It might be that you're kind of psychic or have a certain degree of prescience, where you already know that in about a week from now, you're going to become aware and feel things that you know that you have to feel, that you're scared of feeling. Perhaps you've got certain stuff inside of you that's been deeply buried in denial for a long time, and it's going to come to the surface now. It's going to be revealed to you for healing, and you might be reluctant to live through this period. But what I'm sensing here, what I just talked about here, is that it's very important that you allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. Be prepared to be exposed to the most sensitive, fragile parts of your feelings, okay? You got Venus in Cancer. Okay, there you go. It's going to be opposed by Venus in Capricorn, okay? So at some point, okay, you have Venus in Cancer, all right? So at some point, the moon is going to cross over your Venus, and it's going to be opposed by Venus in Capricorn, Sun in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn. So you might feel very fragile and sensitive inside, because Venus in Cancer really loves to love, loves to be loved, loves to be cozy, loves to have a very safe, cozy, warm kind of environment, and is very turned on to, and responsive to anyone or any situation that either provides or aligns with that kind of environment. In other words, you might respond well to Cancerian people who are very, very caring and have your interests, your safety and security at heart. In other words, they care for you. You might be very, very, let's say, what's the word like? In other words, you would appreciate a good home. You would appreciate a love and relationship dynamic that is very much centered around the coziness and stability and security of a good home. Okay? All right, let's have a look here. What's the situation itself for the week ahead? Okay, with the Queen of Cups, my feeling is, don't worry, TL, too much. I'm not absolutely terrified. I have a lot of Queen of Cups energy in me and around me and through me right now. And the energy is already flowing in for the good, for the love. I already know I'm relatively pretty sensitive to the lunar patterns. Venus in Cancer, to me it would also indicate that your love nature is like very sensitive. It would be like being a very sensitive dog or a very sensitive cat or a very sensitive pet, where people can't stomp on you or take advantage of you because you would really feel it strongly. Just the slightest destabilization in comfort and stability and security, you would feel it very strongly. On the other hand, you are very strong, so this to me indicates that you've got a good grip and a good understanding of your core nature and of your vulnerabilities. And so the question is, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to navigate best, in the best possible ways for you through this week ahead, where through this reading you're realizing that there are going to be some moments of turbulence, okay? It's going to happen, okay? So the question is, how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to continue to be loving in order to be loved? In other words, love is as love does. There's no pentacles here, but to me it looks like this reading is literally you right now deliberately questioning and examining your environment and your life in your world over the week ahead. And you're already starting to position yourself and make decisions how to navigate, knowing that your hypersensitive nature is going to be buffeted as you go through certain short, brief moments of turbulence, okay? Hannah, I see the note there. I'm done with readings for tonight. Please come again next week. Or if you want to, just, Kat, hold on a second. I just want to talk to Hannah. Hi, Hannah. I'm just doing a reading right now. This is the last reading. I'm going to wrap up the show after this. I'm not doing any sing-songs or anything. I'm being very, very, let's say, constrained with my shows right now because I have to really kind of be very careful with my own personal energy and conserve as much as possible because I'm working on, let's say, I have to be very conscientious, okay? So if you want, we can read in private. I do readings in private. You can go over here. You can go to tarotlumination.com. You can see headings for where you can book a reading, you can make a donation, you can get in touch with me at the Connect page, tell me your situation or whatever, and we can do it. And we do awesome private readings through my Zoom. They're fully live in person. In other words, you would see me like this, and I would see you like that. And we would do a live reading just like we do here, and it's all recorded and stored and shipped to you as a file, and you own that file, okay? Thanks for your patience, Zekat, okay? So how are we going to handle this? It's not the end of the world. It just makes me feel as though you know that you're facing some, let's say, emotional turbulence. You know that at periods you might not have any sense of like an anchor or something that you can hold on to, and that you're like your emotions might be a little overstimulated, but you're prepared. What's the problem here? Okay, so with the Justice card, you've got that's quite a. To me, it feels like there's some kind of deep fear, something ominous that's been troubling you for quite a long time, and you really don't want to deal with it. And it's something perhaps very personal or very private to do with issues of injustice, either where you have been treated unjustly or you have, treated someone else unjustly, and you might be ashamed or feel guilty about that, and you're worried about like karmic repercussions, and you don't want to deal with it. It could be anything, like maybe you were offended by somebody in the family or group of friends or work or anything, or you might have offended somebody at work, family, group, or friends, and you might be scared of the karmic kickback of the either to yourself or from them to you or whatever it is, such that justice could be harsh and painful. It's an understandable fear. Okay? How do we deal with this? Let's have a look going forward. It might be in your imagination. You might just be scared like the whole world is going to come to an end and it's not fair, it's not right. What about me? How's it going to work for me? How am I going to get through this week so I'm not terrified by all the news and all the horrible things about injections and bugs and viruses, okay? Okay? So, going forward, a lot of this could be just fear. Fear is false evidence of appearing real. In other words, you might feel guilty or frightened or something, and it might not be real or justified. It might just because you're emotional and sensitive. And maybe there is no grievance or anything, but you're still sensitive. You're going to understand this reading a lot more by Monday evening. You might even feel it by this time next Sunday. In other words, if you're here next Sunday, you might have a lot more clarity about what this reading is about. Okay? So, how are we going to deal with this going forward? Okay, my feeling with the Seven of Wands here is that in order to get through this week, where you might feel a little bit fragile, a little bit sensitive, where you might come across some significant, brief episodes of emotional turbulence, where you might have been very, very reluctant to get through this week because something deep down is really kind of scaring you, like some kind of karmic dues. Whether it's real or not, or just imagined, who knows, but the fear can feel real anyway. The way to go forward is to basically say, okay, TL, thank you. I get it. I understand what you're talking about. I might not understand the details exactly, but bring it on. The best form of defense is a good offense. Okay? I'm looking at your note there on the screen. Okay? It got the word defense. Can you see that language? It's a sports term. I used to be very, very competitive athlete in some strange sports when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was an oarsman. I did that rowing stuff. It's called sculling in England. It's a very, very long, thin, skinny boat. The boat is no wider than this. It's literally this wide, and it's about 20 feet, 15 feet long. This wide and 15 feet long. And you have a sliding seat. It goes back and forth. And literally your butt hangs out the sides of the boat. And then the oars hang out the side of the boat. And it's extremely unstable. It's designed to go very fast in a straight line when you are rowing. Okay? And I happen to be very, very good at it. And I had a kind of a "uck you" mentality, when it was in a very competitive situation, I would just kind of get in the zone and I would say to myself, I don't give a uck what you are doing. I am going to destroy you. The best way is bring it on. You want to try me out? Bring it on, okay? The harder you push, the more you try to beat me, the more I get into it, okay? So bring it on. And if you are scared, if I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to lose this race, oh, I'm never going to do it, I'm already doomed. And so I'm kind of programmed to have this attitude of the best defense is a good offense. So even though I might be up against some very fierce competition, instead of me just trying to protect myself oh, I hope I can get through, I make a decision that I am going to be as offensive as possible. I'm going to go above and beyond. In fact, I'm going to say to the competition, you know what? I know you're good. You know I'm good, but you can't beat me. Bring it on. Give me your best. Come on. Let's do this. And then your whole being is psyched up and primed, and your immune system and your will to live is fully primed for survival against all odds. Ta-da! In other words, no matter how scared you are, you predetermine that you're going to prevail anyway, no matter what the challenge is. You're going to get through this. Even if you're like this, bring it on, bring it on. Oh my God, what do I don't know. You're still going to get through it, okay? Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Very simple. You stand your ground. It could be with people, situations, finances, your emotions. You could be frightened, for example, of what comes at you through the news, through mainstream media. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. I am being singled out. I could be punished. Maybe I've got a poor credit score, or maybe I'm late on a car payment, or maybe I am avoiding a college payment or some kind of relationship commitment or something. All this fear. The best way forward is to face the fear and do what you got to do. In fact, invite not the conflict, but stand your ground against the challenging conditions that you are going to face. Okay? It's going to happen, but you're going to be okay. I've already pointed out the trigger points. The trigger points, okay, this is an 8-day period here. Well, 7 days, almost 8 days. So the trigger points are going to be in about 3 days here, 4.5 days here, 2 days here, a little bit here. This could be, to me, this is probably the point of main turbulence. But with your Venus in Capricorn, and when the moon hits Cancer, with your Venus in Cancer, when the moon is in Cancer, you're going to be hypersensitive, okay, by definition. So forewarned is forearmed. From this reading, you already know that you're going to be approaching a phase of being hypersensitive. You could be emotionally very sensitive at that time. So if you are aware of it in advance, you do not have to be a victim, because there's a tremendous opposition here from the Capricorn side, okay? So just be aware of that. You do not have to be a victim. In fact, there's a lot that you could learn from this. So you'll be okay. If you have to, check in. I'm here. I do readings during the week if anybody's interested. So let me just do a, you know what, let me just close this up. I like to close it in real time. And that's the readings for tonight, folks. I'm going to be wrapping it up here in a few minutes, okay? And I thank you all for your kindness and your time and your generosity. I always wish I could do more. I wish I could do this 5 days a week, 3 or 4 hours a day, and with lots and lots of huge donations. I don't have it in me right now. I used to do 40 readings and reports and videos a month, if not more. And I would do lots of personal readings on the side during the week too. It was just overwhelming. I ended up hurting myself, frankly. Oh good, you don't watch MSM. Well done. Whew, that's a relief. Okay, ECAT, thank you very much. Cards are shuffled. We're going to say farewell to everybody. Thanks for the, I don't know who's here still. Let me just check in a minute. Thanks for the group reading, Necessary Truth. Thank you, Precious. Thank you, Gregory. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, ECAT. It's been a pleasure to serve you, and I hope we can do this all again. If anybody needs to, you can go over here, like I said. You can go to terralumination.com and you can get to me through here. Donations, readings, connections, and so on. Also, if it's like a mini emergency, here's my email. alittlebookabout@yahoo.com. Okay? And we can schedule things, and everything I do is through PayPal. And thank you for the super chats tonight, but PayPal is the best option for me to receive funds because I get all of it. And there we go. Another Sunday evening with Terralumination. I'm just going to... You know what I should... I wonder if I can... No, I don't have the... I don't have what's called an MP3 file for LINA and her song and her cover version of my song. So I don't know how to play it. So I'm not going to play it because that's what I wanted to do. That's what I would do if I could. So instead I'm just going to play some sweet music and we're going to say goodnight and farewell. Thank you. I'm sorry I started so late tonight. I was just trying to catch up with life. And we all did what we can. And again, it's been a pleasure. If you need anything, get in touch.